Vorgan Krell stood before the towering, onyx-black dais in the vast chamber. The chamber's metal-plated walls pulsed with a circuitry of bygone technologies, stretching the limits of sight into the inky blackness. Vorgan, his muscular physique bare save for the intricate tech implants on his wrists, couldn't hide the set of his jaw beneath his long, umber hair and substantial beard. He faced the entity seated above. Lord Xythala's massive form seemed to leech the meager light that reached the dais. His deep amethyst hide rippled with barely contained force, and his luminescent eyes, like molten gold, fixed on Vorgan with a predatory intensity. Razor-sharp talons drummed against the armrest, each strike echoing through the immense space like a miniature thunderclap. "The device," Xythala's voice rumbled, a sound like tectonic plates grinding together. "You will bring it to me." Vorgan's hand instinctively moved to the pouch where he kept the sunstone, the ancient artifact. It felt strangely warm against his skin, even through the layers of synth weave. "With all due respect, my lord, this device is not for sale, trade, or whatever term you prefer." The alien lord's eyes flared, twin novas in the dimness. "You misunderstand, biped. This is not a solicitation." "I comprehend perfectly," Vorgan replied, his voice unwavering despite the cold sweat tracing a path down his spine. "But this device is too precarious to—" A subtle movement in the shadows snagged his attention. A figure emerged from behind the dais, a female Xenorian with deep violet skin and elaborately styled dark braids. Her form-fitting, obsidian uniform shimmered with electrum accents. But it was her eyes that captivated Vorgan, deep wells of sorrow, hinting at untold suffering. "Perhaps." Xythala's lips curled into a cruel smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "We can reach an understanding that advantages us both." The Xenorian female's eyes met Vorgan's, and something passed between them, a spark of shared awareness, a fleeting sense of possibility. She subtly shook her head, a silent warning against whatever bargain the Lord was about to propose. "I possess many thralls, Vorgan," Xythala continued, his voice a low purr, "but this one Lyra is exceptional. Trained in the lost disciplines, versed in technologies long rendered obsolete. She could be yours." Vorgan's jaw tightened. "You're offering to trade, a sentient being?" "I am offering you a selection, biped. The device, for her liberation. Surely that is worth more than whatever principles you cling to." Before Vorgan could reply, Lyra spoke, her voice soft but clear, resonating with an unexpected strength. The device must not fall into his grasp. The ramifications. Silence. Xythala's roar was deafening, shaking the very foundations of the chamber. Lyra flinched, but held her ground, her gaze unwavering. Vorgan studied her face, seeing the resilience beneath the sorrow. His fingers traced the outline of the sunstone in his pouch. He'd found it on a desolate world, Ethelgard, half buried in the ruins of a civilization that had annihilated itself. The power it contained could reshape planets, or obliterate them. "The device is concealed," he said finally, his voice measured. "On a planet at the fringe of charted space. I'll require time to retrieve it." Xythala leaned forward, interest gleaming in his terrifying eyes. "How long?" 3 standard cycles. The alien lord considered this, his talons continuing their rhythmic tapping. 2 cycles. "And Lyra remains here, until your return." Vorgan nodded, deliberately avoiding looking at the flicker of disappointment in Lyra's eyes. "Agreed." As he turned to leave, Xythala's voice pursued him into the shadows. "Remember, biped. Fail to return, and her suffering will be proverbial." Vorgan strode from the chamber, his mind already churning with contingency plans. He had to find a way to save Lyra without dooming the Astro Collective in the process. But first, he needed to retrieve a device that could either be their salvation, or their ultimate destruction. The game had begun. The ancient freighter, the Stardust Wanderer, groaned in protest as Vorgan piloted it through the turbulent atmosphere of Xylos Prime. The desolate planet's twin suns, crimson giants, cast an eerie blood-red glow across endless dunes of obsidian sand. His fingers danced across the control panel, compensating for the fierce winds that threatened to tear his vessel apart. "Computer, scan for energy signatures matching the device's frequency," Vorgan commanded, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the ruins of a long-dead civilization jutted from the black sands like broken teeth. "Warning," the ship's AI responded, its voice a calm, modulated tone. Multiple unknown energy signatures detected. Original device location has been compromised. Vorgan cursed under his breath. Show me. A holographic display materialized, revealing dozens of heat signatures converging on the ruins where he'd originally discovered the sunstone. The sight made his stomach clench. Scavengers, most likely, drawn by the same energy pulse that had attracted HFY Thala's attention. Looks like this just got complicated, he muttered, thinking of Lyra's sorrowful eyes. The memory of their brief encounter in HFY Thala's chamber sent an unexpected warmth through his chest. There was something about her that went beyond mere physical attraction, a strength and intelligence that resonated with him. The ship touched down half a kilometer from the ruins, behind a massive fallen pillar that would shield it from prying eyes. Vorgan checked his equipment, plasma rifle, shield generator, and the various tech implants adorning his wrists. The left one contained a universal translator, the right, a multi-tool capable of interfacing with ancient tech. The moment he stepped outside, the heat hit him like a physical force. Both suns blazed overhead, making the black sand shimmer. His boots sank slightly with each step as he made his way toward the ruins. The first signs of the scavengers appeared quickly: discarded equipment, hastily excavated trenches, and the occasional piece of modern technology mixed with the ancient artifacts. Vorgan moved carefully, using the fallen architecture for cover. Voices drifted on the wind, speaking in various alien languages that his translator processed into comprehensible words. Must be here somewhere. Energy readings are off the charts. Worth a fortune to the right buyer. Vorgan pressed himself against a wall, peering around the corner. A group of varied alien species worked at different levels of the ruins, some using advanced scanning equipment, while others simply dug through the sand with primitive tools. "Hey, over here!" someone shouted. "I found something." The excitement in the voice made Vorgan's heart race. He watched as several scavengers converged on a spot near where he had originally discovered the sunstone. But something felt wrong. The energy signature was different from what he remembered. A tall, insectoid alien lifted something from the sand, a golden disc similar to the one Vorgan had found, but the symbols were incorrect. As the alien held it up, the disc began to pulse with an ominous red light. "Wait!" Vorgan shouted, breaking cover. "Don't!" The explosion sent everyone flying. Vorgan's shield generator activated just in time, protecting him from the worst of the blast. When the dust settled, a crater marked where the scavengers had been standing. The survivors were already fleeing, leaving their equipment behind. "Clever bastard," Vorgan muttered, understanding dawning. He'd found the real device last time because he'd recognized the fake ones for what they were: traps, left by the ancient civilization to protect their secrets. The real hiding place was elsewhere, protected by these deadly decoys. But with so many scavengers around, time was running out. Each explosion would draw more attention, making his task increasingly difficult. His wrist computer beeped, displaying a message that made his blood run cold. "Warning, multiple ships entering atmosphere. Estimated arrival time, 20 minutes. Vorgan looked up at the crimson sky, then back at the vast ruins. Somewhere in this maze of ancient technology and deadly traps lay the real sunstone, and with it, Lyra's freedom. But the competition was increasing, and the clock was ticking. He thought of her again, remembering how she had tried to warn him about the device. There had been something in her voice, a knowledge that went beyond mere caution. What did she know about this place, about the device's true nature? A distant explosion rocked the ruins, followed by screams. More scavengers finding the hard way that not all that glitters is gold. Vorgan checked his weapons and took a deep breath. He had less than 20 minutes to find the real sunstone before this place became a war zone. "Well," he said to himself, a grim smile playing across his bearded face, "nobody said saving a beautiful alien woman would be easy." With renewed determination, he plunged deeper into the ruins, his mind racing with possibilities. The original civilization hadn't just hidden their most powerful artifact, they had created an elaborate maze of decoys and traps. But they would have left clues, for those worthy of finding it. He activated his wrist computer scanning function, but this time, instead of looking for energy signatures, he searched for something else: patterns in the architecture, symbols that might tell a story. The ancient civilization had been known for their love of puzzles and riddles. As he moved through the shadowy corridors, Vorgan couldn't help but wonder about Lyra. What was her story? How had she ended up as HFY Thala's slave? The questions burned in his mind, adding fuel to his determination. He had 2 days to solve this puzzle, find the device, and return to free her. Another explosion echoed through the ruins, closer this time. The race was on. Deep within the ruins, Vorgan discovered a chamber unlike any other. Ancient holographic displays flickered to life as he entered, responding to the energy signature from his wrist device. The walls were covered in intricate circuitry that pulsed with a faint golden light, reminiscent of the artifact he sought. By all the stars, he breathed, watching as three-dimensional star maps materialized around him. The display showed a vast network of interconnected points, with Xylos Prime at its center. Each point glowed with the same golden energy he'd seen in the Sunstone. His translator worked overtime, decoding the ancient text that floated alongside the star map. Nexus. Containment. Equilibrium. The words appeared in his field of vision as the device processed them. Warning: system integrity critical to sector stability. A sudden tremor shook the chamber, sending cascades of black sand through cracks in the ceiling. More explosions from above. The scavengers were getting closer, and their reckless use of explosives threatened to bring the whole structure down. Vorgan's attention was drawn to a central pedestal, where a familiar golden disc sat in a recessed holder. But something was different about this one. Unlike the decoys above, this artifact pulsed with a steady warm light that seemed to reach out to him. As he approached, additional holographic data appeared. The artifact wasn't just a source of power, it was a key component in an ancient network that spanned the entire sector. The civilization that built it had created a system of interconnected devices to maintain some kind of cosmic balance. Computer, Vorgan commanded, analyze the data. What happens if this artifact is removed from the network? The response was immediate and troubling. Warning: removal of primary node will cause cascade failure across network. Estimated consequences: gravitational distortions, spatial anomalies, potential collapse of local spacetime fabric. Well, that complicates things. Vorgan ran a hand through his dark hair, his mind racing. This complicated everything. The artifact couldn't simply be removed and handed over to HFY Thala, not without potentially destroying everything in a 1,000 light-year radius. Another explosion rocked the chamber, closer this time. Sand and debris rained down as the ceiling creaked ominously. Time was running out. Vorgan's thoughts turned to Lyra. Her warning about the artifact suddenly made more sense. Had she known about this? Is that why she tried to stop him from making the deal? A new hologram appeared, showing a species that made his breath catch. They looked exactly like Lyra's people. The ancient texts identified them as the Etherians, the builders of the network. Everything clicked into place. Lyra wasn't just any slave, she was a descendant of the very civilization that had created the system. That clever bastard, Vorgan muttered, understanding dawning. HFY Thala didn't want her just as a slave, he needed her knowledge. The chamber shook again, and this time, part of the ceiling collapsed, revealing the crimson sky above. Voices and footsteps echoed from nearby, the scavengers were closing in. Vorgan made a quick decision. He couldn't leave the artifact here to be found by others, but he couldn't simply hand it over to HFY Thala either. There had to be another way, a way to save both Lyra and the sector. He reached for the artifact, and as his fingers touched its surface, the golden light intensified. Ancient knowledge flooded his mind: schematics, coordinates, protocols. The artifact was showing him something, teaching him its secrets. Emergency protocol initiated, his computer announced. Genetic signature recorded. Temporary authorization granted. Vorgan lifted the artifact from its holder, expecting alarms or defenses to trigger. Instead, the holographic displays shifted, showing a new set of data, contingency plans, built into the system by its creators. The artifact could be moved, but it had to be relocated to another node in the network within 48 hours, or the system would begin to collapse. The timing aligned perfectly with HFY Thala's deadline, but it meant Vorgan couldn't simply hand over the artifact and walk away. He'd have to find a way to ensure it was properly placed in a new node. More debris fell as the chamber continued to collapse. Vorgan secured the artifact in a shielded compartment on his belt and accessed the downloaded data on his wrist computer. There was a secondary node facility on a moon orbiting a gas giant, 3 systems away. If he could get the artifact there. Plasma fire erupted through the hole in the ceiling, forcing Vorgan to dive for cover. The scavengers had found him. Target acquired. A harsh voice called out. The biped has the prize. Vorgan activated his shield generator and drew his plasma rifle. He needed to get back to his ship, but at least 3 different groups of scavengers stood between him and freedom. Still, as he checked his weapons and prepared for battle, a smile crossed his face. This was what bipeds did best: improvising, adapting, surviving against impossible odds. And he had something worth fighting for now, not just Lyra's freedom, but the safety of an entire sector of space. Come on then, he muttered, charging his rifle. Let's show these Xenos how bipeds handle a crisis. The chamber erupted in chaos as Vorgan launched his counterattack. His superior training and enhanced reflexes gave him an edge as he moved from cover to cover, using the ancient architecture to his advantage. The scavengers, more used to fighting over scraps than facing organized resistance, struggled to coordinate their efforts. As he fought his way toward the surface, Vorgan's mind raced with plans. He needed to get off this planet, reach the secondary node facility, and somehow convince HFY Thala to place the artifact there instead of keeping it for himself, all while keeping Lyra safe and preventing the collapse of local spacetime. Just another day in the life of a bipedal adventurer in an alien galaxy. Vorgan's ship, the Stardust Wanderer, burst through Xylos Prime's atmosphere, leaving trails of superheated plasma in its wake. The Sunstone pulsed steadily at his belt, its energy synchronizing with the ship's systems in unexpected ways. His control panels glowed with enhanced readings, showing capabilities he'd never known his vessel possessed. Computer, what's happening to the ship? Systems, ancient protocols activated. Ship capabilities enhanced by artifact integration. Warning, 3 pursuit vessels detected. Energy signatures match HFY Thala's fleet. Vorgan grinned despite the danger. Let's see what this enhancement can do. He banked hard right as green energy bolts streaked past his viewpoint. The pursuing ships were sleek, predatory vessels with purple-black hulls, definitely HFY Thala's elite guard. They moved with practiced precision, trying to box him in. But they hadn't counted on bipedal ingenuity, combined with ancient technology. The artifact's energy surged through his ship systems, allowing maneuvers that should have torn the vessel apart. Vorgan dove between asteroid fields, using the enhanced sensors to plot impossibly precise courses through the debris. Incoming transmission, the computer announced. Unknown frequency. Encrypted using ancient Etherian protocols. Vorgan's heart jumped. Source. Matching signal patterns. Origin, HFY Thala's fortress. Lyra, he breathed. Put it through. The transmission came through as a series of coded pulses, data, rather than voice. His wrist computer, still containing the knowledge downloaded from the artifact chamber, automatically translated it. Lyra's message read, I know what you found. HFY Thala plans to use the artifact to collapse the network, channeling its power for himself. The resulting chaos would let him expand his empire across the sector. There's a secondary node facility in the Theron system. I can help you reach it, but you'll need to trust me. As if to punctuate her message, a barrage of energy weapons fire forced Vorgan into a spinning dive. One of HFY Thala's ships had gotten too close for comfort. Computer, encode response using the same protocol, Vorgan commanded, while executing another impossible maneuver. Message, I trust you, but I'm a little busy at the moment. 3 of your boss's ships are trying to turn me into space dust. The response came quickly. The artifact's power can be channeled through your ship's weapons array. But be careful, each use destabilizes the network further. You have less than 40 hours before cascade failure begins. Vorgan's fingers flew across the control panel, rerouting power as Lyra's instructions appeared on his screen. The artifact's golden glow intensified, and his ship's modest weapons transformed into something far more impressive. Now that's what I'm talking about, he muttered, turning to face his pursuers. The next few minutes were pure chaos. Vorgan's enhanced weapons cut through space like golden lightning, not so much damaging the enemy ships as temporarily phasing them out of normal spacetime. The affected vessels reappeared seconds later, their crews likely experiencing the worst case of spatial displacement sickness in the galaxy. Lyra, he transmitted, while using his newfound advantage, I need to know everything. How are you able to access these communications? What's your connection to all this? Her response was hesitant, but clear, I am more than what HFY Thala believes. My people, the Etherians, didn't all perish. Some of us went into hiding, preserving our knowledge. HFY Thala discovered my heritage and enslaved me, hoping to unlock our secrets. But he doesn't understand. The network wasn't built for power, it was built for protection. Vorgan dodged another attack, using the artifact's power to disable rather than destroy his opponents. Protection from what? From what lies between spaces. The network maintains barriers between dimensions. If it fails... Her transmission paused. Vorgan finished her thought. HFY Thala doesn't want the artifact for its power alone, he wants to breach those barriers. He believes he can control what lies beyond. The implications hit Vorgan hard. This wasn't just about sector stability or HFY Thala's empire, the entire universe could be at risk. I'm not handing over this artifact, he transmitted, but I'm not leaving you there either. You don't understand, Lyra's message came through with increased urgency. I chose to stay. Someone needed to monitor HFY Thala's activities from within. But now I need your help. The secondary node facility isn't just a backup, it's a command center. With the artifact properly placed there, we can strengthen the network, maybe even seal the dimensional barriers permanently. Vorgan smiled as he outmaneuvered another attack. You had me at help. But first, I need to lose these pursuers and reach the Theron system. Any suggestions? Actually. Her response held a hint of mischief that made his pulse quicken. I might have a few ideas. How do you feel about using that bipedal creativity of yours to make a grand entrance? As Lyra's plan unfolded in his display, Vorgan couldn't help but laugh. It was bold, dangerous, and probably insane, exactly the kind of plan a biped would come up with. The fact that it came from her made it even more appealing. You know, he transmitted, as he prepared to execute her suggested maneuvers, under different circumstances, I think we would have made quite a team. Her response made his heart race. Who says we won't survive this, biped? And perhaps, we'll find out. With renewed determination, Vorgan engaged the artifact's power one final time. The chase was about to become legendary, and somewhere in HFY Thala's fortress, an extraordinary woman was counting on him to pull off the impossible. Just another day in the life of a biped who dared to challenge the status quo of an alien galaxy. The asteroid belt between the twin stars of the Xylo system provided the perfect backdrop for what Vorgan had dubbed Operation Spectacular Failure. His ship, now significantly enhanced by the artifact's integration, hovered behind a massive rock formation while he made final adjustments to the plan. Quantum signature duplicated, his computer announced. Replica energy pattern at 97% match, within acceptable parameters for deception. Vorgan smiled as he examined the fake artifact they'd created using Lyra's instructions and the ship's modified replication systems. It looked identical to the real one, down to the subtle imperfections in its golden surface. More importantly, it generated nearly the same energy signature. Your ingenuity continues to impress me, Vorgan, Lyra's encrypted message scrolled across his display. Though I must admit, I never expected a biped to grasp our technology so quickly. We bipeds are full of surprises, he transmitted back, allowing himself a moment to imagine her reaction. Speaking of which, are you sure you can handle your end of this performance? I was trained in the ancient arts since childhood, Vorgan. Deception and manipulation are as natural to my people as breathing. Besides... There was a pause in her transmission that made his heart skip. I find myself particularly motivated to be convincing when communicating with HFY Thala about you. The subtle flirtation in her message sent a warm thrill through him. Their plan hinged on her ability to convince HFY Thala that Vorgan had gone rogue, attempting to destroy the artifact rather than hand it over. The resulting chaos would give them the cover they needed to reach the secondary node facility. Target zone prepared, the computer interrupted. Pursuing vessels maintaining standard search pattern. Vorgan took a deep breath. Showtime, Lyra. Begin transmission to HFY Thala's fortress. In 3, 2, 1. The comm channels erupted with Lyra's voice, broadcast on all frequencies. My lord. The biped. He's discovered something about the artifact. He's threatening to destroy it. Vorgan had to admire her performance. The panic in her voice sounded absolutely genuine. Right on cue, HFY Thala's thunderous response boomed through the channels. Find him. Stop him at all costs. Vorgan engaged his engines, letting the pursuing ships detect him. The chase resumed, but this time, he led them on a precise path through the asteroid field. Each maneuver was calculated to look desperate, while actually positioning everyone exactly where they needed to be. Your biped is proving more troublesome than anticipated, HFY Thala's voice carried across all channels again. Perhaps I should provide him with additional motivation. My lord. Lyra's response came swiftly, thick with apparent concern. He's accessing the artifact's power. The energy readings, they're becoming unstable. Vorgan smiled at her performance while activating the next phase. The fake artifact, planted carefully in a nearby asteroid, began emitting increasingly erratic energy pulses. His ship's enhanced sensors detected HFY Thala's vessels adjusting course, converging on the source. You know, he transmitted privately to Lyra, you're remarkably good at this, flirting while executing a complex deception. Her response held a hint of playful challenge. How very bipedal of you. I prefer to think of it as multitasking. Their banter was interrupted by actual weapons fire from HFY Thala's ships. Time to make this look good. Vorgan engaged in a series of increasingly erratic maneuvers, letting his ship take a few glancing hits. The pursuing vessels fell perfectly into position, believing they were herding him toward a dead end in the asteroid field. My lord.
Lyras voice rang out again.
He's cornered. But the artifact's energy, it's reaching critical levels.
Vorgon Trickgeräte Finalsequenz.
The fake artifact's energy signature spiked dramatically, creating a cascading reaction in the asteroid's mineral composition. The resulting explosion was spectacular, sending waves of golden energy rippling through space. The real artifact, safely secured in his ship's specially shielded compartment, pulsed in harmony with the blast, masking its true location. No. HFY Thala's roar of fury shook the comm channels.
Search the debris.
Find it. My lord, one of his commanders reported, the energy discharge. It's unlike anything we've seen. If there was anything left, it would be scattered across half the system. Vorgan used the chaos to slip away, his ship's systems masking his trajectory. The plan had worked perfectly, perhaps too perfectly. He hadn't expected HFY Thala's reaction to be quite so intense. Lyra, he transmitted on their secure channel, I don't like the sound of his voice. Are you sure you're safe? Her response took longer than usual.
HFY is, considerable.
But it provides an opportunity. He's ordering all ships to search the debris field. The path to the Theron system will be clear. That's not what I asked.
Another pause.
Your concern is touching Vorgan, but unnecessary. HFY Thala values my knowledge too much to harm me, especially now that he believes the artifact is destroyed. He'll need my expertise more than ever.
I still don't like leaving you, Tere.
Focus on reaching the secondary node facility, she transmitted. I'll monitor HFY Thala's movements and keep you informed.
And Vorgon.
Her next words made his pulse quicken. Do try to hurry. I find myself increasingly eager to meet you properly, without all this deception between us. Vorgan plotted a course for the Theron system, his mind filled with thoughts of violet skin and knowing smiles. Trust me, princess, the feeling is mutual.
Princess.
Her amusement was clear, even through text. I see you've been making assumptions about my status among my people. Well, you certainly have the bearing of royalty. The grace, the intelligence, the ability to wrap powerful men around your finger. Careful, biped.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Their playful exchange was interrupted by a warning from his ship's computer. Dimensional stability in the sector decreasing by 0.03%. Estimated time to critical failure, 36 hours.
Reality crashed back in.
They were running out of time, and the real challenges still lay ahead. The secondary node facility would be heavily guarded, and HFY Thala wouldn't stay fooled forever. But for now, they had bought themselves precious time and a clear path forward. And somewhere in that sinister fortress, an extraordinary woman was risking everything to help him save not just her people's legacy, but the entire sector. In HFY Thala's fortress, Lyra stood before the massive alien lord, maintaining her composure despite the crackling energy of his rage. The chamber felt colder than usual, ancient technology pulsing with an ominous rhythm that matched his agitated state. The biped's destruction of the artifact seems convenient, HFY's voice rumbled through the chamber, his massive form looming over her. Sharp talons tapped a threatening rhythm on his throne's armrest. Almost as if it were orchestrated. Lyra met his glowing gaze steadily, her violet skin seeming to shimmer in the chamber's dim light. My lord, if you doubt my loyalty, test it. My knowledge of the ancient systems remains at your disposal. Yes, he purred dangerously, your knowledge. Tell me, dear Lyra, why would a biped choose destruction over profit? It goes against their very nature. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, Vorgon's ship cut through the void toward the Theron system. The artifact thrummed steadily at his belt, its energy growing stronger as they approached their destination. His computer suddenly chimed with an incoming transmission. Emergency protocol engaged. Lyra's message scrolled across his screen, HFY suspects, he. There was a long pause before more text appeared. He's accessing the ancient archives, searching for information about dimensional barriers. Vorgon, he knows more than he should. Vorgon felt his chest tighten. Get out of there now. I can't. He's implementing new security protocols. But there's something else. Another pause. He's not just looking for ways to breach the barriers, he's looking for something specific, on the other side, something he thinks he can control. Back in the fortress, HFY circled Lyra like a predator stalking prey. The archives speak of beings beyond the veil, entities of pure energy, waiting to be harnessed. Your ancestors feared them, locked them away behind their precious barriers. He stopped directly in front of her. But they left a way to reach them, didn't they? Lyra's heart raced, but her voice remained steady. The archives are incomplete, my lord. Much knowledge was lost. Do not lie to me. His roar shook the chamber's foundations. The biped lives. The artifact survives. And you. His massive hand shot out, fingers wrapping around her throat. You think me blind to the transmissions leaving my fortress? In his ship, Vorgon watched in horror as Lyra's vital signs, transmitted through their secure link, spiked dangerously. Without hesitation, he altered course, pushing his engines beyond safe limits. Computer, calculate fastest route back to HFY's fortress. Warning, course change will delay arrival at secondary node facility by 6 hours. Dimensional stability will reach critical levels before. Just do it. A new message from Lyra appeared. Don't you dare turn around, you stubborn biped. The mission comes first. The hell it does, he transmitted back, even as the ship accelerated. Her response was immediate and sharp. Vorgon Kane, listen carefully. HFY knows about the entities beyond the barriers. He's been planning this for years. The artifact, my capture, even your involvement, it was all orchestrated. He needed someone to activate the ancient protocols, someone with the right qualities. In the fortress, HFY released Lyra, watching her stumble with evident amusement. Bipeds possess such fascinating traits. Their genetic structure, their adaptability, perfect for interfacing with ancient technology. Your ancestors designed their systems to respond to specific patterns that, surprisingly, appear in bipedal DNA. Lyra's eyes widened with understanding. You needed a biped to activate the artifact. That's why you let Vorgon find it in the first place. Very good, HFY's smile was terrifying. And now, thanks to your little deception, the artifact is fully activated, and in the hands of the perfect catalyst. His claws traced the air near her face. The only question is, what should I do with you? Vorgon received another transmission. He's going to track your energy signature. The artifact's power is too distinct to hide. You need to reach the secondary node facility before he finds you. Not without you. Listen to me. Her message carried desperate urgency. I can delay him, give you time, but you must complete the mission. The entities he wants to release, they're not what he thinks. They're not tools or weapons, they're devourers of reality itself. If he breaches the barriers. Back in the chamber, HFY activated a series of ancient consoles. Since you're so fond of communication, my dear, let's send one final message to your bipedal friend. Lyra felt energy coursing through her body as HFY Thala interfaced her directly with the fortress's systems. The pain was excruciating, but through it, she managed to send one last transmission to Vorgan. My people have a saying, love across dimensions burns brightest in darkness. Remember that, Vorgan. Remember me. Now run, you beautiful fool, run. The transmission cut off abruptly. Vorgan stared at his blank screen, his knuckles white on the ship's controls. Everything in him screamed to turn back, to save her. But her words echoed in his mind, along with the weight of the artifact at his belt. The computer spoke, course correction required. Please confirm destination, HFY Thala's fortress, or Theron System secondary node facility. Vorgan closed his eyes, feeling the artifact's power pulse in sync with his racing heart. When he opened them again, they held a dangerous glint. Neither, he commanded. Plot a new course. We're going to show this sector how bipeds handle impossible situations. Vorgan held the artifact in his bare hands for the first time since retrieving it from Xylo's Prime. Its golden surface pulsed with an inner light that seemed to respond to his racing emotions: anger at HFY Thala's manipulation, fear for Lyra's safety, and something deeper, more powerful when he thought of her. Love across dimensions burns brightest in darkness, he repeated her last words. The artifact flared brilliantly, its energy synchronizing with his heartbeat. Warning, his ship's computer announced, unknown protocol activation detected. Artifact energy signature changing. Vorgan felt it, a resonance between his DNA and the ancient technology, just as HFY Thala had predicted. But there was something the alien lord hadn't counted on: bipedal unpredictability. Computer, analyze the dimensional barrier fluctuations. Show me the weak points. A holographic display materialized, showing a complex web of energy patterns spanning the sector. Small tiers were beginning to appear, places where reality wore thin. Accessing archived data, the computer continued. Etherian records indicate controlled dimensional distortions possible through precise artifact manipulation. Vorgan smiled grimly. And who better to manipulate it than a bipedal catalyst? Show me how. Ancient schematics filled his vision as the artifact downloaded information directly into his mind. The Etherians hadn't just built barriers between dimensions. They'd learned to create controlled windows, small glimpses into other realities that could be used for observation or travel. If HFY Thala wants to play with dimensional barriers, Vorgan muttered, let's give him exactly what he wants. He began adjusting his ship systems according to the new knowledge flooding his consciousness. The artifact's power flowed through him, responding to his intentions with an eagerness that surprised him. It was as if the device itself wanted to be used this way. Initiating dimensional resonance scan, he commanded. Focus on HFY Thala's fortress. Look for any signature matching Lyra's biological pattern. The scan revealed something unexpected: a faint, golden thread connecting him to Lyra, visible only in the higher dimensional frequencies. Their interactions with the artifact had created a quantum entanglement, linking them across space. Well, Vorgan grinned. Looks like our little deception had some unintended benefits. He focused on the connection, letting his emotions flow through it. The artifact's power surged, amplifying the link. Suddenly, he could sense Lyra's presence, feel her determination and strength, even in captivity. In HFY Thala's fortress, Lyra gasped as she felt the connection bloom. The alien lord had her confined in a chamber filled with ancient technology, preparing to use her as bait for his trap. But now, she could feel Vorgan's presence, his intentions flowing through their unexpected bond.
Impossible.
She whispered, a smile tugging at her lips. You brilliant, reckless biped. HFY Thala noticed her expression. Something amuses you? Just remembering an old saying, she replied cryptically, about bipeds and their tendency to rewrite the rules of reality. In space, Vorgan began implementing his plan. The artifact's power, channeled through his ship's enhanced systems, started creating controlled dimensional distortions, small at first, barely noticeable ripples in spacetime. Computer, calculate power requirements for a large-scale distortion field around HFY Thala's fortress. Warning, such manipulation could destabilize local spacetime fabric. That's exactly what I'm counting on. He wants to breach the barriers? Let's show him what that really means. Vorgan felt Lyra's approval through their connection. She understood his plan, to give HFY Thala a taste of the chaos he sought, but in a controlled way that would serve their purposes. The artifact's energy pulsed stronger, responding to their shared determination. Golden light filled the ship's cabin as Vorgan initiated the first phase. Space itself began to twist around his vessel, creating a cascade of dimensional windows, each one showing a different version of reality. Through their connection, he transmitted to Lyra, "Be ready. Things are about to get interesting." Her response came as a feeling rather than words, excitement, mixed with admiration. She'd never imagined a biped could master the artifact's power so completely, so quickly. Computer, plot a course directly to HFY Thala's fortress. Full power to dimensional distortion field. As his ship accelerated, reality began to fragment around it. The artifact's power, amplified by his emotions and his connection to Lyra, created a web of intersecting dimensional tiers. But unlike HFY Thala's crude attempts to breach the barriers, these distortions were precisely controlled, each one carefully calculated to serve their purpose. Through the quantum link, Vorgan could feel Lyra preparing herself, gathering her own considerable powers. The Etherean knowledge flowed between them, showing him exactly how to proceed. "You know," he transmitted to her, letting his affection color the connection. "When this is over, we really need to discuss this whole ancient, advanced civilization thing you've got going on." Her response carried a hint of playful mystery. "Perhaps I'll tell you all about it. Over dinner. Assuming you survive this insane plan of yours." "Oh, now that's proper motivation." Vorgan's grin widened as he initiated the final sequence. "Computer, prepare for dimensional jump. Let's show HFY Thala what happens when you underestimate humanity's capacity for creative problem-solving." The artifact flared with unprecedented power, responding to the strength of his emotions and his unshakable determination to save both Lyra and the sector. Space itself seemed to hold its breath as the ship approached its jump point. It was time to demonstrate why bipeds had earned their reputation for achieving the impossible. The dimensional barriers surrounding HFY Thala's fortress shimmered with golden light as Vorgan's ship pierced through layers of reality. The quantum connection between him and Lyra pulsed stronger than ever, their shared emotions amplifying the artifact's power to unprecedented levels. "My lord," one of HFY Thala's commanders reported. "The bipedal ship, it's generating impossible energy readings. The dimensional barriers are responding to him." HFY Thala watched the approaching vessel through the fortress's ancient viewing screens, his massive form tense with anticipation. Of course they are. He's finally embracing his role as catalyst. His glowing eyes shifted to Lyra. "Though I suspect he has additional motivation." Lyra stood proudly, despite her restraints, her violet skin seeming to shimmer with an inner light. Through their connection, she felt Vorgan's determination, his passion, his love. She smiled, knowing HFY Thala couldn't begin to understand the power of bipedal emotions. The fortress shuddered as reality began to twist. Vorgan's controlled dimensional distortions created a cascade of effects, each one precisely calculated. But something unexpected was happening. The quantum link between him and Lyra grew stronger, their consciousnesses beginning to merge in ways the ancient Etherians had never predicted. "Computer," Vorgan commanded, "analyze the energy pattern between myself and Lyra." Analysis complete. Warning: quantum resonance exceeding known parameters. Bipedal DNA catalyzing unprecedented reaction with Etherian technology. Vorgan felt it, a new kind of power flowing through their connection. Lyra's ancestral knowledge merged with his bipedal intuition, creating something entirely new. The artifact responded, its golden light filling the ship's cabin. In the fortress, Lyra gasped as the same energy coursed through her. Their shared consciousness expanded, showing him her memories of Ethelgard, helping her understand why bipeds were so uniquely suited to this moment, their capacity for love, their ability to defy impossible odds, their unwavering determination. It was exactly what the Etherian technology had been waiting for. "Now Lyra." Vorgan transmitted through their link. "Channel everything." Lyra closed her eyes, letting her feelings for this remarkable biped flow freely. The fortress's ancient systems responded, recognizing the combined power of Etherian wisdom and bipedal passion. HFY Thala realized, too late, what was happening. Stop them. But the transformation had already begun. The artifact's energy, amplified by Vorgan and Lyra's connection, spread through the dimensional barriers. Instead of tearing them down, it strengthened them, rewriting their very nature. The barriers would no longer just separate dimensions. They would adapt, grow stronger with each challenge, powered by the same force that drove humanity to reach for the stars. Vorgan's ship landed in the fortress's main hangar, reality stabilizing around it. When he emerged, the sight of him took Lyra's breath away. The artifact's power had marked him, threads of golden light dancing across his muscular form. His long, dark hair and beard seemed to shimmer with ancient energy. But his eyes, they were purely bipedal, filled with warmth and love as they found hers. "I believe," he said, striding confidently toward her, "we had a dinner date planned." HFY Thala moved to intercept, but found himself frozen in place by the transformed barrier energy.
Impossible.
The barriers were to be broken. "Actually," Lyra replied, her restraints dissolving as she stepped toward Vorgan, "they were meant to be enhanced. My ancestors created the technology, but they could never perfect it. They needed something more, something only humanity could provide. The ability to love across boundaries," Vorgan added, reaching for her hand, "to see beauty in differences, to fight for what matters, to never give up, even when facing impossible odds." Their fingers intertwined, and the quantum connection between them exploded with joy. The artifact's power spread throughout the sector, strengthening dimensional barriers everywhere, but also creating something new, bridges of understanding between different species and cultures. HFY Thala and his forces found themselves contained, their ability to harm others neutralized by the enhanced barriers. The ancient technology had evolved beyond its original purpose, becoming a force for unity rather than division. Hours later, aboard Vorgan's ship, Lyra traced the golden energy patterns that still danced across his skin. The artifact, now safely integrated into the sector's dimensional network, had left its mark on both of them. Their quantum connection remained, a permanent bridge between Etherean wisdom and bipedal passion. "You know," Vorgan said, pulling her closer, "when I first made that deal with HFY Thala, I never imagined it would lead to this." Lyra's violet skin glowed with happiness as she pressed against him. "The best deals are the ones that surprise us." Her fingers tangled in his dark hair. "Though I must admit, I'm rather glad you turned out to be terrible at following orders." Their laughter filled the ship's cabin as they celebrated their victory in the most bipedal way possible, with love that transcended dimensional barriers and defied the laws of reality itself. In the days that followed, the sector transformed. The strengthened barriers prevented any future attempts to breach dimensions, while the bridges of understanding fostered peace between different species. HFY Thala's fortress became a center of learning, where Etherean knowledge and bipedal innovation combined to create new wonders. And at the heart of it all, a bipedal man and an Etherean woman proved that love truly was the most powerful force in any dimension. Their story became legend, told across the galaxy as proof that sometimes, the most valuable trades aren't about artifacts or power, but about finding someone worth breaking all the rules for. Vorgan and Lyra's relationship deepened with each passing day, their quantum connection allowing them to experience love on levels no other couple had ever known. They traveled the stars together, bridging worlds and cultures, showing the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their adaptability or determination, but their capacity for love. The artifact that had brought them together remained active in the dimensional network, its power a constant reminder that the most powerful magic in the universe wasn't found in ancient technology or dimensional barriers, but in the connection between two hearts brave enough to defy the impossible.